Hello you lot, Miller Corner here, welcome back once again. And if you saw my previous video where we fitted these lovely spotlights to my Seicento, you'll know that I love the effects of them, and I did like the look of having spotlights, but that these particular ones are a bit small. They just don't really do it for me. I think spotlights on a car should be as big as possible. And I thought, well, the first set came off Temu and they worked well, so why not do it again? So indeed, I've bought what's described as LED work lamp, security and durable. This bloke looks happy, and so do I, because inside, these are about 4 inches as far as we can deduce. New ones are 7 inches, and even just by showing you like that, that is a big difference. I think these are going to look a lot nicer in the car. There's 2 of them obviously, and I've even pre-wired in terminals for them so they're easy to swap over. Now you've seen me install spotlights on the Seicento once before, in fact in my previous video, so I'll spare you having to watch that. But what I will say is these aren't the only Temu part we're going to be fitting today, because I, like many of you, enjoy a bit of retail therapy, and after I finished browsing spotlights, I just ended up browsing through general car parts on Temu and found a few bits that I quite like the idea of, and obviously were very cheap. Now this isn't a sponsored video and I'm not necessarily recommending any of these parts. I'm just going to try them out and you'll see with me what they're like to install and what they're like at the end. So first up, spotlights, and then a small selection of other cheap and hopefully cheerful Temu car parts. Okay, so in the time it's taken me to fit these lights, the sun is pretty much down. It's still only January in the UK, and as you can see, it is beautiful, but also dark by about 4:30. But I do have to show you, that is utterly silly, and I utterly love it. Look at the size of those bad boys. Right from 4 inches to 7 inches, and every person says they need 7 inches, whether you're male or female. And I think that is a way better fit. Suddenly, you've got quite dramatically oversized lights. Without going stupid, this is still supposed to be drivable after all, and I think that looks awesome. But of course, the form is only half of it. Next is onto the functions. So being that it is about 2 minutes away from getting dark, let's see what they look like. Right, totally dark now. That's with just the side lights on, and oh yeah. Yeah, that'll do nicely. If your car doesn't look like a Pink Floyd gig driving down the road, do you even have a cool car? Big, bright and surprisingly cheap, which is really all I wanted from those spotlights. So next up, another Temu mod, and it's actually one of the most things on a Seicento that makes them hard to use day to day. Not talking about the lack of a glove box, you can't really fix that, it's the lack of a cup holder. It doesn't matter what you're drinking, water, Monster Energy, or your decaf mocha frappa cappuccino with extra goat milk, you cannot put a cup anywhere in here, which means it falls over when you're driving along, ruins your lovely carpet. Temu has the answer though. These are aftermarket fold-out cup holders. So you can put them pretty much wherever you like, any flat surface in the car, and then they just fold out like that, and then this folds up, and you've got yourself a cup holder with these adjustable arms in it, so you can put pretty much any size water bottle or whatever drink you've got in there with a little tray, and then when you're done with it, fold that down, and it just folds away to nothing. Comes with some screws, comes with sticky pads, and you get 2 of these for I think about £4. So here is the side of my centre console. I've unscrewed my fire extinguisher bracket. Now I'm going to be moving that up further into the footwell. There's a couple of screw holes and marks from various things over the years. You know me, I'm clumsy. And my plan is I want to put my foldy downy cup holder here. You see it's got 4 screw holes in the back. It does come with screws as well, which is nice. Just fold that out like that, and if you put it there, you're not actually going to be hitting it with your foot or anything like that. So I would say if we go about there, heaps of legroom there. Yeah, that's not really encouraging at all, is it? Yeah, okay, cool. I'm going to use one of these screws to mark what's straight. Now we're on pretty much level ground here, so in theory, if I just keep wiggling this around until it's level, there's a screw hole left over from my old fire extinguisher now there. I'm wondering if I can just use that to my advantage. Right, I've pretty much worked out the easiest way to do this is going to be get it where I want it, then spirit level it, and there we go, that's level. Because this is quite soft plastic we're going into here, I've made an indent in the bit of plastic trim by putting the screw through the cup holder. Now I've done that, get an actual drill bit to open that hole out enough to take the screw, then screw it in place and do the other 4. Why won't you go in? Right, that's gone through, lovely. Right, so that's one screw just lining up now, and I can use this, my fantastic ratcheting screwdriver that my girlfriend got me for Christmas. Thank you, darling, because these are up there with one of my favourite tools you can use. I can now wind this in to the centre console, and then we can level the whole thing to make it look almost like I know what I'm doing. The hole I've drilled is slightly bigger than the screw, so that particular screw won't tighten up, but that's okay, because now we've got a standard bearer, I can get the other 3 in to hold it in place and then put a fatter screw in that one's place. So it's not a problem, it's just that I'm an idiot. Well, it's quite a bit later, so I've done a bit of struggling and swearing and arranging, and the new cup holder, for the passenger side at least, is in. Look at that. It's all in place, rigidly tight, and you will be able to get your cup in there. Look, these are adjustable, so you can put a nice big cup in there if you want. Fold that down, fold that up, and that is nice and neat, and it doesn't intrude on your foot space at all, because you don't actually put your foot or your leg here when you're actually in the car. The screws they include are not really man enough. They're not quite the right size for the holes in the thing anyway, and they're very thin, and they're not really self-tappers as far as I can tell, because no matter what I did with a drill or a screwdriver, I couldn't make them self-tap into the fairly thin plastic centre console. So I've used some of these, which are just normal black number plate screws, and to be honest, you don't really see them anyway, certainly not from that angle. So they are in there nice and tight. That is nice and rigid. Look at that. I've got both cup holders now in the Seicento, both sides of the centre console, and for demonstration purposes, I've even put a travel mug, this being a Trax one. Get yours at shop.kelsey.co.uk. Keep me in a job. And this fits in here perfectly. Look, slide that out, then that is perfectly nice and neat. Then I fold that down, and then nice and tidy, and doesn't get in your way when you're sitting in the car. And then I've just wedged the GoPro under the seat so you can see this. Get your travel mug, slide that spring out the way, and in it goes. There you go, travel mug all fitted in. You can lift that out while you're driving, and it's not really in the way of where you put your feet when you're driving along. So I think that is a bit of a win. For £4 for 2 of those, put them in, a few minutes work with the power drill and some self-tappers. Do be warned, you're probably better off supplying your own self-tappers, because Temu's ones are a little bit naff if I'm honest, but other than that, I say that is a bit of a win. Nice and tidy, nice and neat, and particularly if you've got black trim, blends in rather nicely, almost looks factory fit. But anyway, that's one thing done. Next, I'm going to take this whole centre console arrangement out, partly because I need to drill some new holes to put the fire extinguisher bracket back in, and partly because I've got one upgrade that I want to do here. And it's the cigarette lighter. Now, I've already taken this one out of the centre console, and to be honest, in this day and age, a cigarette lighter isn't terribly useful. I don't smoke, I don't really like cancer myself, and most things that you want to plug in and charge while you're driving are on a USB or a USB-C. So also courtesy of Temu, I've got this, which is a multi-USB port you can see in there. So it gives you 2 high-speed USB 3 plugs with an on and off button. And in the middle, a little LCD screen that lights up that gives you a voltmeter as well. So you can see how many volts are coming from your battery. This goes in place of the cigarette lighter. I've already extracted this one from my centre console. It's got this little screw-on thread, which then tightens it up to wherever you want to put it, little cover. This is a really neat little thing. It even includes the spay connector, so you really can just plug and play yourself if you're handy with your wiring stuff. About £3, and it makes your car far, far more usable. High-speed USB charging for your phone, voltmeter, 2 plugs, where you previously, of course, only had one. No-brainer, really. There's just one little thing you need to bear in mind on a Seicento and a lot of other cars if you are going to cut your standard fag lighter off to wire one of these up. This is the plug you get in a Seicento when you disconnect your cigarette lighter. And those of you that know basic electrics will know that you should get a power and an earth. And you'll also notice, if you're good at counting, that there are 3 wires going to this plug. And there's a very good reason for that, because this has got power, earth, and a separate wire coming in that's connected to the headlights, so that when you're driving at night and you turn your headlights on, obviously all your gauges light up. It also lights up that little ring around the outside of the cigarette lighter, so you can see that in the dark as well. And you don't actually need that for your voltmeter, because it's permanently lit up. The black is your earth, obviously. The red and white there is your power, and this little red and yellow wire on the end, that is the auxiliary wire for the light up ring. Now, you don't need that, so when you chop this connector off to rewire it, you want to cut this yellow and red one down as much as you can, because you're not going to need that whatsoever. Maybe insulate it a bit, which is what I'm going to do. Then we can crimp on some spade connectors, then plug the new thing in, and then we can check it works. Right, I've chopped off the old plug, I've then crimped on some spade connectors, and as I always say, I'll say this now, I am just testing. I will insulate these once I've tested. Here is our lovely new gauge, and I'm going to just click the ignition on now. There's power. And we have a volt gauge. Look at that, ladies and gents. It's not doing that scrolling thing. That is just the camera doing that. But there you can see 11.7 volts there. So you can see it is reading correctly. And if I just put a bit of load through it, so I just do hazards, blower, headlights, heated rear window, just do all the things, you'll notice it is dropping down when there's more load through it. So the voltmeter is accurate and it is working. I'm a big fan of that, and that looks really cool, nice and subtle. All we have to do is unplug it, insulate those, then this threaded collar comes off, we feed it up through the centre console, wind it on, and then we've got a voltmeter and 2 lovely USB 3s for fast charging. That is very clean and classy. There's one final part to fit from our Temu extravaganza on the Seicento, and no, it's not some car cleaning products. You can see the state of it. It's January. I daily drive this car. There is no point cleaning it yet. It is something far more simple, but actually about visibility as well. Bulbs. I recently fitted some LED bulbs to the back of my Mercedes, and actually fitting some nice modern bright LED bulbs on an old car like this is a great improvement. It makes it brighter, more visible on the road, and also uses a bit less power as well, which is always a good thing. And I can keep track of that, of course, on my new volt gauge. So I've got LED replacements for all the tail lights, the brake light, the reverse light, fog light, all that stuff. Just pop them off, change them, and see what a difference there is. What followed was over an hour wrestling with the rusty, rounded bolts that were holding the rear lights in. After exhausting every tool and every swear word at my disposal, finally I got them out, got the light off, and could fit the new bulbs. Well, I don't mind telling you, that was a bit of an ordeal. The amount of swearing and cutting and general breakery we had to do just to make that happen. Let's see what we have here. So I've got white, and these are dual filaments. So we can pop that out, which I think that's going to be the right one. Double, there we go. I've just got that completely wrong. Ignore me. That's in, there we go. Okay, no one panic. Which ones are the indicators? They're the middle. Yep, I've completely messed that up. That is not, you know what it's like to fit bulbs, jump cut. Right, bulbs are fitted. So I'm now going to try and put some lights on before I assemble this back together to make sure there is some semblance of function. I'm not blown away by functionality, I'm going to be honest. Ah, okay, we've got a worker on the rear fog front, that's good. Right, I'm going to fiddle around with these for a bit and try and make them sit and seat properly, and we'll come back to you in a moment. That would turn out to be quite a long shortly. The clip you just saw was filmed at the end of January, sort of the 25th, 26th, something like that. I've just checked the calendar. I'm talking to you now in the glorious sunshine of the 26th of March. I don't think any of my videos has been quite so drawn out as this one, mostly for my reasons, to be honest. I've procrastinated, I've had other things going on, and I've not really had much time to spend tinkering on the car. You'll notice it has had its post-winter wash, and it is gleaming for it, and that gives you some idea of how long it's been. I had to chisel the dirt off the back of this thing. Not literally. Anyway, let's sum up very quickly our experience with the Temu bits and pieces on the Super Seicento here. The bulbs were a mixed bag. Eventually, I got some of them to work. I've currently got a white LED reversing light, which works very well, and I've got a white LED rear fog light, which also works very well. And they've both been faultlessly reliable, touch wood, and they just work, they're brighter, they're really, really nice. None of the others worked. I couldn't get the brake lights / side lights to work, I couldn't get the hazards to work, as in the indicators, so they both went back and were fully refunded within 24 hours. You can't fault Temu for that. This isn't sponsored, I'm just telling it how it is. They didn't even want them back. In fact, I just sent them photos to show them not working. They instantly refunded me and I didn't even have to send them back. So you know what, we'll call that a semi-win, because I have still got 2 of them that work. As for the other bits and pieces, that USB voltmeter, brilliant, absolutely love it. Less than £4, really easy to install. It's more useful, more practical, and I've got a built-in volt gauge. It's neat and tidy. I cannot recommend that enough. Same goes for the cup holders, really. They're neat and tidy. They make a bit more practicality on what is now quite an old nugget that frankly needs a bit more practicality, not to mention a glove box lid, and it means I can drive along with my drink there, and my girlfriend's been in with me as well. We've had 2 drinks in there while we've been driving along, not been anyone's way. If you install them carefully, for the sake of £4 or £5 that they cost, you really cannot complain of those either. So that for me is a big, big win. As are the spotlights. They're much bigger ones, they're much brighter, more powerful than the tiny little ones I had, and they make a world of difference. I think I do need to mount them on a slightly stiffer bracket, because at the moment they're cable tied to the number plate bracket, and on bumpy roads they do wibble around a little bit. But other than that, the brightness, the power they don't use, the look of having big spotlights on, I cannot recommend those enough. They are ace. So overall, would I rate the Temu mods I've installed on the little nugget here? Yes, I would. I would still advise to buy carefully. Do some research, even find some reviews, because there are reviews on Temu, and be prepared that what you're buying is cheap. So quite often you do get what you pay for, mentioning no names, but more often than not, you can be surprised by Temu. Again, just to be clear, this isn't a sponsor video, there was no free stuff. I bought it with my own money just to see what it was like, and on the whole, I'd recommend all of it. So if I can find links to the stuff I bought, it is in the description below, and don't forget to let us know if you've used any Temu bits on your car. How have you found it? Let's start a little community of cheap car mods, because actually that's what this channel is all about. But for now, thanks very much for watching, everybody, and have a brilliant rest of your day. Catch you soon, and have a good one. Now I've got to go and edit a video that's taken 2 months to film.